As many of you will know, I've made a few changes to the channel recently, and I wanted to share with you why I've been making some of the decisions that I've been making, mostly from an interest point of view, somewhat from an education point of view. But it's really been a fascinating process over the last probably 4 or 5 months, but also stretching that out over the history of the channel. I've been doing a lot of constant adaptation, adjustment, changing, and it's been fascinating to see that some of the things that I thought mattered actually don't matter at all. They make no difference whatsoever. Improving the quality of my lighting and office hasn't made a difference. Improving the sound hasn't made a difference. Any of the things that I've tried to do and tweak actually haven't made a difference until recently. The things that make a difference is choosing a title that people want to click on, that people are fascinated in and engaged by, curious about, sometimes angry about, and then also the production and the style of the content within the video as well. And I know some of you are loving the new content and the approach that I'm taking. Not so much the content's the same, but some of you are enjoying the approach that I've started to take, my editing style, my delivery style, others not so much, and I get that. The things that I thought might be interesting to share though is what's driven those changes specifically. I did that recent video about why I was quitting as an audiophile reviewer and talking about the fact that it's all about becoming just someone who enjoys music, enjoys the gear, and wants to share that with people in a fun and engaging way. But I also thought it was worth adding this video to talk about how that's being driven by data and analytics. So every time we put out a YouTube video, YouTube starts collecting data on it and feeding it back to us. So they tell us all about the number of people that click through based on the thumbnail and the title. So there's what's called an impression. So when a video gets shown on your YouTube feed or in your notifications, whether or not you click through that is a data point that tells us whether or not the thumbnail and the title are engaging interest. Now, I've found that the thumbnails make a little bit of difference, the titles make a huge difference. I know some people recently have complained that they feel like the titles I'm using are clickbaity, and there's two things I want to talk about there. One of them is that my aim is to get people to watch the videos, because if you don't click through the video, you don't get to watch the video. If you don't get to watch the video, then there's no point in me creating the video. So it's not about being tricky or deceitful, it's about finding a title that actually makes people want to click through and watch when they're scrolling through a feed that might have, you might scroll through 50 videos. What is it that I can put on my video that's going to make you want to click on mine and watch mine? And then, this is the really important part, making sure that if you do click through my video, there's a payoff. The payoff being, is it a good video? I hope it is. And my intention is always to make good, high value content that's fun, engaging and interesting. And so, whilst the titles need to have, I'm not going to go as far as saying they need to be clickbaity, because they definitely don't, but they need to do something that has an element of curiosity, interest, engagement. It makes you want to understand more about the video that goes with that title. And the only way to do that is to come up with a provocative title to start with. And so by having a provocative title and then following it up with content that firstly matches the title, that's really important. So none of my titles will be completely detached from the content of my video. There's always a seed of truth within the title, and if you go back and look at any titles on my recent videos that you might think are clickbaity, you'll find that there is actually a very specific thread of truth in there. So, why I'm quitting being an audiophile reviewer, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not focusing on the audiophile side of things anymore. I'm focusing on the musical enjoyment. So some might have thought that was clickbaity. The reality is it's the truth, but I've worded the truth in a way that's going to get more people to click on that video and then hopefully enjoy the content. So that's the data around impressions. So how you get people to click on the video in the first place. And the big thing to recognize is that if you're a small channel like mine, and by small channel, I mean anyone that's probably under a couple of 100,000 subscribers, that's a small channel in the world of YouTube. And the reason I say that is that if you rely on subscriber numbers alone, you're probably getting about 10% of your subscriber number as views for a new video over the first few days to a week. So if you've got, like I do, 37,000 subscribers at the moment, if I put out a video and I don't do the sorts of things I've been doing lately to help drive interest and drive engagement, if my title was just a review of product X, I'm going to get a very small number of people that are specifically interested in that product, and that's going to be in the hundreds if I'm lucky. And then I'm going to get probably 5 to 10% of my subscribers. So we're talking a number that's somewhere in the vicinity of 1,000 to 3,000 people who are going to click on it because it's a video from me, and they go, oh, you know, I like Lachlan's videos, I'll watch it. The reality is a small channel can't grow and therefore ultimately can't survive running on those sorts of numbers. And so you have to find ways to actually build the viewership, to find new viewers, to create interest, to create engagement, until you get to the stage. You know, a couple of great examples I've talked to my wife about recently are YouTubers like Casey Neistat, Peter McKinnon, Mark Rober to a degree, although I'm not so convinced on Mark Rober, in the sense I love his videos. I'm just not convinced that he's an example of someone that I would click on anything and everything that he does. I do find myself coming and going based on the content. But with somebody like a Casey Neistat or a Peter McKinnon, a lot of people will click on their videos just because it's them. They've earned the reputation that they can put pretty much any title they want on a video and they're going to get hundreds of thousands of views because people have gotten to understand that a Peter McKinnon video gives me this, whatever this is, whatever they enjoy. But a Peter McKinnon video is going to deliver something that those people are always going to enjoy regardless of the title. Until you're at a scale where you can do that, you have to do all these other things. So one of them is impressions. And then the next thing is that once you get people actually to click on the video, and that's the hardest part, I think, once you get people to click on the video, the next thing is to actually make the content interesting, engaging, enjoyable, so they'll stay with it for long enough that YouTube, the algorithm in YouTube, can look at that interaction that each viewer has and say, this is obviously good content, people want to watch this, I should show it to more people. And then they put your thumbnail and title in front of more people get to watch it, more people get to see it, and then your channel grows if you're doing a good job. And so the second part, and the reason I've made some changes to my editing lately, is that having someone just sit there and talk to a camera with occasional B-roll just purely for the sake of illustrating what's specifically being spoken about, which in my case would be if I say this DAC has an I2S input and I show the I2S input in some B-roll, that alone is not engaging enough for the majority of people. They're not going to watch it for long enough. Many people are going to get bored, they're going to switch off, and YouTube is going to go, okay, this is a video that we don't need to show to other people because it's not engaging enough. And so that's where a lot of the changes I've made with bringing a lot of music back into my videos, as in music behind the B-roll and even behind the voiceover stuff at first, bringing in things like the stock footage that I've used occasionally to illustrate a point or to bring a bit of humor into the videos, whether it's a photo, whether it's a video. Those short cutaways make a big difference to engagement. Even if you're someone sitting there that says you don't like them, and I know some of you don't, the reality is it actually keeps people's attention. And if you can keep people's attention, then they get to watch more of your video, they hopefully get to see something they might not have otherwise seen or heard. And in my case at least, I try to weave interesting bits of information and insights about the products throughout the entire video. So I don't dump all the good stuff in the first 5 minutes and then the rest is trash. I try to keep the whole video interesting, so I want people to stay engaged with it for long enough to get the most out of the video. And so the point of having those little cutaways, photos, video snippets, stock footage, B-roll, having all those in there is all about maintaining people's attention span. Some people's attention spans are fantastic and they'll just put on a video and it can just be a talking head for 30 minutes and they're going to watch the whole thing because they're interested. But the reality is most people, that's not the case. And kind of scarily, I guess you could say, in a world of TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, the attention span for most people is very, very short. And so for creators, it's about finding a balance that suits your audience and suits your content, of having enough of those cutaways and on-screen text and B-roll and just pieces of interest to make sure that people are engaged far enough to actually get into your video and stay committed to it. So I guess what I'm saying here is that everything I'm doing on the channel now is very data driven. It's looking at the analytics, it's looking to understand what people are enjoying, what they're not enjoying, what they will click on, what they won't click on, the moments in videos and the approaches to my videos that are more or less engaging, and just to continue to build and improve based on those things. So I thought I'd share it with you. I thought it might be interesting. Maybe you're someone that's never watched my channel before and you're watching this more from a how do you build engagement in a YouTube video point of view, but I thought it might all be good stuff that you could enjoy learning a little bit about the process behind the scenes of YouTube creation. Oh, and that reminds me, I should mention, one of the things that people often forget about, I think, is that to produce a YouTube video of any level of quality takes time. There's a level of planning, there's capturing B-roll, there's capturing the main face to camera stuff, then there's all the editing, then there's thinking about what is the title going to be, what is the thumbnail going to be. All of those things combine so that I would say a 12 to 14 minute video on my channel these days, and this is a much more efficient process than it used to be for me. I've found ways to get it quicker and quicker and quicker. That process to make one video is still a good day and a half for me at least. Depending on the product, that's not including the fact that I've also had to sit down and spend time with the product, get to know the product, research the product, compare it with other devices. So some videos for me could be 3 days of work, and that's for a single 12 to 14 minute video. And so I think anyone who's complaining about the fact that a YouTuber would leverage any of the tools they can, whether it's different titles, different thumbnails, different editing strategies, anyone who's criticizing the fact that a YouTuber will do what they can to get more views on their videos is forgetting that this content's free for you. This content is, and I shouldn't say you, I'm not trying to have a go at anyone here, that's not my intention, but there are some people that will criticize a YouTuber for choosing a title that engages them and draws them in, when the reality is that YouTuber has just spent maybe 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, whatever it is of their life, producing a video that's shared for free on YouTube. And of course, they're going to want to get the maximum views out of it because that's either their livelihood, building towards their livelihood, maybe it's supporting their retirement, whatever people are doing with their YouTube income. Not many people are on YouTube just for the fun of it. Most of us are on there because we've got something to share and we want to do it in a way that there's some level of return for our effort and our investment of time and effort, I mean. And so I think that's a really important thing to recognize, is the time, the effort, the care that goes into producing content. Whether you like that creator or not, we should at least respect the time and the effort that goes into it. You know, there's YouTubers out there that I don't particularly enjoy, but I know the time, the effort, and the care that they've put into producing their videos, and I respect that, even if I don't agree with them, like their approach to things, like watching their content. We're all different, and that's why there are so many different channels. So hopefully this has been interesting. Hopefully it gives you a bit of insight into the channel. Maybe it was just me rambling at a camera while I drove home from dropping off my son at daycare, who knows? But hopefully you've taken something from it and it's been useful and helpful and interesting. Anyway, for now, I'm going to leave you to it. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you again soon here on Passion for Sound.